Hey everybody, I want to spend a few minutes today explaining your assessment for Unit 5, World War I. It's going to be a little bit different than how we've done things in the past. For one thing, you're not just going to have a big test that's going to cover the entire unit. You will have some sort of a small quiz over some key concepts here the last week of school, but the bigger portion of this unit is something that you're going to take ownership of and something that you're going to have a little bit of choice in being assessed on. So let's take a look at it. You're going to be given three options for your assessment for Unit 5. You can do any of the three that you wish, whatever your strengths are, whatever you feel best about. So let's take a look at what those are. You can either write an essay, or you can have a creative writing exercise, or a video presentation. It doesn't matter which of the three that you are choosing, you're going to be answering the question, how did World War I change America? Let's take a look at the essay. If you choose to write an essay, students will write a 4 to 5 paragraph essay in which they contextualize, develop a thesis, and support their argument with at least 3 examples of relevant historical evidence. We're going to take a look in a moment in more detail about what that means. When it comes to the creative writing exercise, in order to answer the question in this particular assessment, students will write 2 letters from fictional characters alive during the time of the First World War. One letter will be from a person who is on the home front, explaining to their friend or loved one who's overseas how their life has changed as a result of the war. The second letter will be from a person who is fighting in the war along the Western Front in Europe, and they will be writing back explaining how the war has affected them. Ultimately, these 2 letters will be working together to address that prompt, how did World War I change America? The final choice you have is to create a video presentation. Now for this, I want you to create either a PowerPoint or perhaps a Google Slides presentation that has pictures and historical details about American involvement in World War I, focusing on answering the question, how did World War I change America? You can use Screencastify, you can use Screencast-O-Matic, you can use the record feature that is embedded within many versions of PowerPoint to present the PowerPoint presentation and narrate over your presentation and answer that question. Let's look at the rubrics so we have a little bit better idea of how you will be scored. Now, all of these assignments, when you look at them in the grade book, they're going to be worth 30 points. But for the purposes of these rubrics, just to make it simple, I'm just using 0 to 1 point. And obviously, when we put those in the grade book, we will adjust those to make sure that the total of your points is out of 30. So the essay, we'll spend a little bit more time on this one because I haven't had you write a formal 4 to 5 paragraph essay in my class before, but this is how it's going to be assessed. The first point that you can earn is for something called contextualization. This is something we use in AP US history. All it really means is that within the first paragraph of your essay, you explain the broader historical context in which your thesis should be understood. Think of it like this. If you've ever watched a Star Wars film, at the beginning of every film, there is a scroll of text that goes up through the screen that tells you everything you need to know about the world that you're getting ready to walk into. So that when the movie starts, you don't have to have any, you don't have to use the story to tell you the background information. That scroll already told you. It's like old sitcoms used to be, where the theme song told you the whole story, right? The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air starts off every episode telling you the story of who he is and how he got there. In the same way, the first paragraph of your essay should give a little bit of background information that is relevant to the thesis, relevant to the prompt that you're addressing. It can't be something about the United States that is completely unrelated to the question of how did World War I change America, but set up the reader to understand that here's how things were, and now I'm going to give you a thesis and tell you how things are after the war. So you get 0 to 1 point on that. The second point comes from your thesis. A thesis must address the prompt. In our case, the prompt, how did World War I change America? It is not restating the prompt. If you simply restated the prompt and said, World War I changed America, and that was it, that's not a thesis. That's restating the prompt, and that would not give you any points. Instead, you're going to have to respond to the prompt with a historically defensible claim, thesis, that establishes a line of reasoning. It must essentially tell the reader, here's the argument that I'm going to make to you throughout the remainder of this essay. Most of your points in the essay come from your evidence. You can earn up to 3 points for this, providing specific examples of evidence relevant to the topic of the prompt. You support an argument in response to the prompt using specific and relevant examples of evidence. So now that you've made a thesis, you have to use 3 specific pieces of historical evidence to show me why what you say is true. Points are awarded when the response identifies specific historical examples of evidence relevant to the topic of the prompt. To earn 3 points, the response must use 3 specific pieces of historical evidence to support the argument in response to the prompt. And this cannot simply be listing or a mere reference to something. You have to have 3 points. First this, and then this. And using all those together, that explains how World War I changed America. And finally, you can get a point for the structure, meaning that you've written in the correct format that I've asked you to, and then it's free of significant grammatical or spelling errors. So that's the essay. When it comes to the creative writing, if you choose to do the creative writing, again, you're going to write 2 letters. Both letters can earn you up to 5 points, 3 for evidence and 2 for the structure. So if we look at letter 1, the evidence provides 3 specific examples of historical evidence explaining how life was changed in America during World War I. So if that first letter is from a person at home working here in the United States and they're affected by the war, they're going to say, here's 3 different areas in which my life has been changed as a result of this war. And 1 point is earned for using specific examples to answer the prompt. Up to 3 points are possible. So points are not awarded for a mere phrase or reference. So you can't say, here's how my life has changed. This. Okay, bye. That's not going to be good enough. You have to give me more than that. Explain how these events that we've been studying on the home front would impact someone living at that time. And then you can earn up to 2 points for writing it in the correct structure, addressing it as a letter, showing some creativity, no significant spelling errors or grammatical errors. Letter 2 is going to do the same thing, but it's going to do it from the perspective of someone who is fighting overseas. Again, it cannot be a mere reference to 3 different examples. It needs to be something that is an explanation of those 3 bits of evidence. And then up to 2 points for doing it in the correct structure. Written as a letter, showing creativity, free of significant grammatical errors. And your final choice is a video presentation. If you choose to take this route, then there's going to be, there's going to be some points available here too, based upon various different aspects. One will be the visual presentation itself. Up to 2 points. Presentation includes a minimum of 10 slides, complete with World War I era pictures and relevant text. This means that it can't be clip art. It can't be things of that nature. You have to have World War I era pictures. And the text that you put on there must be relevant. I don't want paragraph upon paragraph upon paragraph, because that is not going to be, as the rubric says, visually appealing. There's a point also for the audio presentation. You are going to be narrating over your presentation. So it's recommended, if you've got one, that you use a microphone. If you don't, that's okay, but you need to make sure to speak clearly, not a lot of stopping, speaking better than I am right now, Make it as if this is an actual presentation that you would be proud of, the idea that multiple people might see this. Long story short, speak clearly and make sure I can hear you. Most of your points, again, are coming from the evidence. The presentation uses specific historical evidence to thoroughly address the prompt. Points are earned for using specific historical evidence to answer the prompt. Up to 3 points are possible. Points are not awarded for a mere phrase or reference. Again, you can't put a slide up there and say it impacted the United States this way, another slide this way, and another slide this way without any explanation of this. You're not just putting up a slide and giving me an answer. You are explaining to me, the viewer, how World War I changed America. And then finally, the length. There's a point available for having the appropriate length, which is between 5 and 7 minutes. If it's 4 minutes and 30 seconds, you're not going to get the point. If it's 7 minutes and 15 seconds, you're not going to get the point. This needs to be a thorough, professional-looking explanation of how World War I changed America. So again, you have your choice as to which one of these you will use to be assessed for this unit. It does not matter to me which one you choose. If you feel that you are more gifted as a writer, by all means, write. If you are creative and you would like to try the 2 letters, by all means, do that. Or if you want to go the visual presentation route, you're absolutely welcome to do that. You're only doing one, and you do whichever one you choose. And this will play a large role in your assessment for this unit. All right, if you've got any questions, as always, I'm happy to answer them.